Welcome back to the Hustle Unfiltered podcast hosted by Kayla Serta and Jackson Mansuti,
where we dive into raw, unfiltered conversations about training, health, and fitness while navigating the challenges of life and business in our 20s.
Welcome back to the Hustle Unfiltered
podcast with your host, Kayla Serta,
Jackson
Mansuti.
What is doing? What doing?
What doing? It's another day in the life of prep. You what doing?
Just drinking a Piccolo.
That's got some milk in it.
Yeah, it's got almond milk.
Yeah, okay. Nice.
Pretty good. I actually think I prefer just straight black coffee, to be honest with you.
I like when you make a straight black coffee at home, but I actually got myself a little almond latte when I went on my walk this morning, which was nice from the cafe.
Did it fit your calories?
It did, because it's a rest day. I treat myself to an almond latte on my rest days because I don't have a pre-training snack.
Big brain moves.
So I'm like, I'm going to treat myself.
Well, give us an update.
Oh yes, the mighty prep update. We are like 9.5 weeks out. I was saying to Beck today, she's like, how many weeks out are you? And I was like 9. She's like, oh fuck. I'm like, yeah, it's close now. Like, I'm technically past the halfway point for the first show in terms of my length of prep. So it's getting a bit real.
Good. How you feeling?
I would say this is
I asked like I don't know.
I know. And I feel like I've said this every single week. Oh, this is the week it's felt like prep, or this is the week it's felt like prep. But this week I have felt prep. And by prep, I mean I have felt the less food. I have felt the less energy. And even like the dip in strength, like yesterday's session was a rough one. Context was I felt good on Monday and Tuesday. Like Monday and Tuesday sessions were great. And then yesterday we started with pendulum squat like we always do on a Wednesday. And I did the same weight I did last week. And the first set last week I got like 11 reps. I got 9 this time and they were grindy reps.
Yeah, they were.
And then the second set, I was like, we'll just go again. Like, that's fine. I think I did 3 or 4 reps and it was just not happening. Like, I had nothing in me to push it out. Got a bit upset.
Then Jackson gave the famous pep talk.
I got a pep talk. I was like on the verge of tears, but I like kept myself together. I finished the set because we pulled off like 2.5 kilos on the machine, so I went back down to 30. And on the last rep, because I was squeezing so hard, the tear came down my face. I was like, fuck, I don't want to cry. But because I was squeezing my eyes shut, I was like squeezing everything so hard that I did shed a tear. And then the last set, I just kept it at 30, and I think I got like 8 reps again. And that was kind of...
You did really well.
Look, I was just frustrated. I'm like, okay, now my strength is taking a hit, which I knew I'm expecting. Like, I know that's going to happen, but I also like do take a lot of pride in my ability to.
I don't even think it was a strength thing, though. I think it was just energy for that day. It was not where it was.
Well, that's what I mean more by the strength. It's like the energy wasn't there. And like, I do take a lot of pride in my ability to be able to push through that sort of stuff. But yeah, it just was not happening yesterday, but I still had a really good session. I still, even though I pulled my weights back on some things, like I still worked. Like, I didn't lead that as an excuse to be like, oh, well, I don't have the energy, so I'm just going to like take the piss with the rest of my session. You know, I'm tired. I don't have a lot of food, and like use that as an excuse not to still show up to what I had available to me. And I still showed up. I did progress with my leg extensions though. So I was like, I'm taking that as a win.
Yeah, I think you just got to take the progressions where you can. And I think it's like, when you're in the position you're in, you're going to have days where the energy is not as high. Therefore, the strength may not be there, but it's not necessarily like the strength is less. It's just that there's less energy for that day. You may be a bit more stressed, a bit more tired.
Yeah.
You know, maybe the hydration was off. Maybe there was like it just could have been multiple things.
Yeah. And like, I'm not taking that into the rest of my sessions either for the rest of this week. It's just like, that was just what it was yesterday. I've got a training session tomorrow and we'll just see kind of how things pay out. And I think it's cool to have that experience and talk about it as well, because I know a lot of my girls have experienced the same over the last couple of weeks, given like a lot of them coming off the back of sickness in winter. Sickness, like life stress, all these things, and like they are having those quote unquote not their best sessions. But it's been cool to kind of have those conversations with them as well, being like, it doesn't determine how much you do show up. It doesn't determine what you've done to this point. Like a bad session doesn't mean a bad week of training or anything like that. It's just like kind of accept it for what it was. And then I feel like you can only deem it as a bad session if you use it as an excuse to let yourself not show up to what you had available to you.
100%, yeah. I think also just like for those people who are having the hard sessions, this time of year is tough for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, people are away on holidays, you're at home and wishing you're on holidays, and it's winter, it's cold, it's harder to get to the gym, you get sick a lot easier. A lot of those things tend to happen, but you know, it doesn't mean that we still don't show up. It doesn't mean that we still don't do the thing. And if it's not at the level that you want it to be, in your case for this prep, you know, you're not at the strength that you had wanted to be for that day, that's okay. And as you said, you just isolate it as a one session or a bad week.
Yeah. But other than that, things are looking pretty good. I feel lean. I look lean.
You definitely look lean.
And I had a good posing lesson today as well with my posing coach, Beck, and very, very happy with where we're at. She's very happy with my posing, which is good because I definitely am overthinking a little bit there. But just having that reassurance, like there's a couple of things to refine just to make it that even better. But overall, like I'm in a good spot with posing. So
I think your posing's come a long way, definitely.
It's definitely come.
And as someone who's watching you, and I know I've sort of said this to you, but I think you're doing a really good job.
Thank you.
I think you're killing it. I think you're definitely setting a standard for myself next time I do it. So it's been awesome to see.
Yeah. How's your build going? Week 1?
Week 2.
Oh, week 2.
Week 2 build. Build is pretty good. I definitely feel heavier just because eating more food. As obviously we've had, let's be a little bit vulnerable today. I've had a couple of discussions this week of feeling a little bit fat. I think because I haven't eaten that much food in a very long time, it's definitely been a bit more difficult to deal with that amount of food sitting in my stomach.
Yeah.
So like even just breathing, I feel like I breathe heavier. Like just stuff like that feels heavier.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel stronger in the gym. Weight's already up like 3 kilos in 2 weeks. But no, it's been good. I definitely do notice like the strength in the gym, energy in the gym's really good, as well as like making some adjustments to the diet I think has helped. Full transparency, I've had some like skincare journey lately, which you have been a massive part of, putting skincare serums on my back.
Yeah, we have a full nighttime routine before we do the creamy. I'm charging the oils into his back. Context,
always. I had like a flare up on my back with like acne and stuff. I've actually had this problem like pre-touching any sort of like enhancements. So it's been something that I've been dealing with for a very long time, but obviously with the enhancements, it's kind of gone a little bit crazy again. So we've been trying to manage that to the best as we can by getting some more stronger serums, cleaning up the diet, stuff like that. It's definitely improved and come a long way. So that's something we've been taking care of. But what I've done with the diet is reducing like a lot of the artificial sugars, so less honey, less like, I guess you could say like sweeteners and stuff as well.
Yeah.
A lot more like rich vegetables, so sweet potato, potassium, that sort of stuff. And it's definitely made a difference in how I feel and the skin itself. And then we're obviously going to be looking at changing some of the rice as well, from jasmine rice to basmati rice, because the glycemic index can cause a bit more inflammation as well. So not something that anyone else would need to worry about, but some of the things that we're doing on my end just to make sure we're ticking a lot of boxes, because obviously when you're in this world, there's a lot more boxes to tick because you're playing with bigger fish to fry. But it's been good. And I'm also really happy to see the changes in the skin clearing up, and then hopefully the physique will be a byproduct of that as well. I do feel bigger though.
Yeah, you're looking solid. Very juicy in the gym.
It's a good feeling. But today we're going to get into more so around, we've been talking about training a fair bit, but I feel like it's pretty valid. A conversation that we had the other day, just around like programming and how long programs should last, and, you know, are we really changing much in a program? I guess for you, you can even talk from your own experiences, like has your program really changed much since your diet and prep?
I've been doing the same program since I started prep, and that's been like 10 weeks now. And generally my program would change every, say, like 8 to 12 weeks. Like that's usually how long some of my programs have lasted. And Jason Mike and our coach, just reached out. I was like, are you happy with the program? Do you want to make any adjustments? Like, we're technically ticking on the boxes with this program, but is there anything, like, are you happy to keep doing it? And I was like, yeah, I've definitely got more I can get out of this. And we made like a couple swaps, just like I prefer like machine pressing instead of dumbbells. So we did like 3 swaps of an exercise, but everything else has been the same. And I don't think, like, if you're doing well with the program, and yes, you might have weeks where you're like, I'm a little bit bored, and I think that's normal, like, we're human. But for the most part, if you zoom out, it's like I'm still making great progress. You know, maybe I've stalled on a lift for a couple weeks, but, you know I can push past it. It's like you can just keep running that program for as long as you need to. And it doesn't really look too different between a build and a deficit or anything like that. You might tweak a little bit of the sets that you do. But for the most part, like, training looks pretty much the same year round.
So we've established that a program would take a length roughly 8 to 12 weeks. Could you run it for longer?
Yeah.
Why would you change a program?
For if you are like going backwards completely, like if you've kind of maxed out and it's like now each week you can't uphold that and it's now going backwards, you might add some variations into some of the exercises. That also, like, if you do like entertainment in the gym, I think adding in some variety to some of the exercises, you're going to have to overhaul your whole program, but that could also just keep that momentum quite high. And if your goals obviously change as well. Or if we're bringing up certain parts of the body, for example, I know, like, even in your instances, it's like you might put a focus on back one program. It's like, we've seen great development with your back, pull it back a little bit, let's go more shoulders.
Yeah.
Like, if your goals are shifting, or we have a very long-term goal that's been spaced out across multiple phases, and that's when you would make those changes as well.
Yeah, and what would you be changing specifically?
Like exercise variations.
Yeah.
Play around with the volume, even like if you're going through a really stressful period or you're not recovering well, it's like we might pull a bit of the volume back. Or if you're responding really well, might add a little bit more volume, again, depending on the phase that you're in and what goal you're working towards. But for the most part, it's going to look pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Like, with very small tweaks, especially if your goal is to build the physique that you want.
Yeah, I agree. I put you on the spot with a lot of questions.
Yeah, you did.
But I did it on purpose.
I'm really thinking. I'm using my brain right now.
I did it for a reason, because I think the main takeaways that we can take from that is the fact that your program doesn't necessarily need to change that frequently. There's not much that's going to necessarily change. And the things that do change are probably not the things that you're going to think are going to change. Because I think when a lot of people think of a change in their program, they think of this whole new split. They think all new exercises. They think different sets, rep ranges, rep schemes, like pyramid sets and drop sets and myo reps. And some people probably don't even know what they are. But essentially, they think it's this magic thing that's really going to change and make a massive difference. When the reality is, for you and I and most of our clients, if not all, the thing that only ever changes is the variation in exercise, the amount of sets you do overall, and that's it. And
You maybe tweak the rep range.
And maybe tweak the rep range.
Yeah.
But essentially, like, you're going to build muscle in all those rep ranges that we prescribe. You're going to build muscle whether you do a dumbbell press, you do a machine press, you do a cable fly, or you do a fucking, I don't know, a fly press. Like, which you would never do programmed. But the reality is like, if you can keep progressing those movements for a long period of time, there's no real need to change that. And I think what I've been doing lately, which I know you do as well, is I usually show how we build the program to show what's being changed and why. Because if you're doing, if you see like the same exercises, you're like, why am I doing the same exercises? It's like, okay, well, you're technically not doing the same exercise because you're doing a glute bridge and now you're doing with a barbell, now you're doing a single leg glute bridge. It's like, yeah, it's the same, but it's just a different variation of it. And sometimes that's enough to scratch an itch.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
Usually it's like, we look at, okay, what's the goal? We're trying to build muscle, so we have more food in the system at the moment. So the goal is going to be like, let's build up some of the volume in the chest for a guy and the glutes for a girl. So instead of doing 3 sets, you might do 4. Instead of doing it once a week, you might do it twice a week. And then that way we can see, okay, there's changes here, but the crux of it is the same. In your case, you've got a little bit less volume. Also, in terms of exercise selection, we've gone to more machines because there's more external stability, where your ability to brace right now, because there's less of you, is a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Have you really found a difference in training with your prep versus in a build?
Not a difference whatsoever. Like, it's still the same principles of applying progressive overload. Like, you're never not doing that. But it's your probably capacity to do it as frequently or to the extent you would when you've got all this food coming in, whether you're at maintenance or in build or just not dieting, is probably going to be a little bit less. So that's why even like adding things like the machines and giving you that external support, it's like, for me, my ability to push harder on a machine is going to be so much higher, especially right now, because I know I'm supported in that. Whereas trying to push out a dumbbell, I'm using every fiber of my being from top to bottom to try and push that out. And it's not like I can get a greater return from the machines when I'm dieting, for example.
I think it's a good thing as well, is like to ask you the question again. But more so, I remember when you were doing that program where you were doing like 4 exercises.
Yeah.
But it was like, it still took you 2 hours to do.
Yeah.
Versus now, like what would you say the key differences are between the now versus that, let's say that day alone?
I'd say the types of movements I'm doing. Like I was doing a lot more compound lifts. Like for example, like an RDL, for me to work up to my top set, I'm doing a few warm-up sets. Like I can't just chuck 90 kilos on the bar and start. Like I need to warm up properly for that. So because I was doing so much bigger, heavier, stronger movements for myself, it takes me longer.
Yeah, you're doing like RDL, leg press.
RDLs, leg press. I think that day was
Dumbbell RDL or base hands?
That was across the week.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But still, even then, like I'm touching 40 kilo dumbbells. I'm not just picking up 40 kilo dumbbells. I have to warm up to that. So I'm overall technically doing more if you want to count the warm-up sets, but they're not like proper working sets anyway. So the length of that program took longer, whereas say this program, like I do yesterday, pendulum squat, do a few warm-up sets. That's my biggest lift. Leg press, do a few warm-up sets, and then I've got a leg extension and a calf raise. I'm not doing as many sets to get up to my top weight for that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the main thing to take away from that is like, we obviously been speaking about this like external stability, and maybe some people are thinking, what the fuck is that? But essentially it's your ability to stabilize yourself in a movement. So if you're doing RDLs, right, your ability to stabilize yourself when you have more body fat, when you have more size, you're going to be pretty solid in that, right? And I've seen you, because you've seen your RDL 100 kilos. Asking you to do that right now would feel like everything's going to break.
Absolutely, that would not feel safe.
So we go to things like a B-stance RDL. We go to things like a glute bridge. We go to things like seated leg curls, hip extensions, because the amount of total like load on the body itself is going to be less, but your ability to still get a lot out of those movements is still going to be high, and you can push them with less recoverability.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at differences in programs from like a build to a cut, the main differences are going to be the types of movements we do and the amount of volume we do. So for example, at the moment, you're doing less, right?
I think I'm still doing similar.
Similar, but a little bit less.
I'm probably doing the same amount of volume, but my exercises aren't as taxing.
Yeah.
Like the last program, I was still doing like 5 exercises each session, say in my lower body, but I was doing like RDLs 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of like, I guess, higher cost movements. Whereas now, like Monday, I do a hip extension, a leg curl, a hip thrust, a kickback lunge.
Yeah.
So I'm still doing technically the same amount of sets as well, I'm pretty sure, per week, but they're
impressive.
not as like costly on the body, I feel.
That's impressive.
I think.
Yeah,
I'm doing 3 sets of everything. 50 sets a day.
As you said, the cost per exercise is less.
Yeah.
Yeah, which plays a massive role as well.
Yeah.
I think the best way to describe it or look at it would be like, if I asked you to do 10 sets of barbell squats versus 10 sets of leg press, like which one would you rather do?
Fucking hell, I'd rather do leg press.
Yeah. And that's the best way you can ask yourself of like, are the exercises going to ruin me? Because obviously you want them to a degree, but how much of a degree of fatigue is that going to accumulate so that you can come back tomorrow and do it again? And I think that's one of the main things to talk about too.
Yeah.
It's like you just need to be able to recover enough so that you can come back tomorrow and still train at a high level.
Yeah.
Is there any questions as well that you get from clients around programs of like misconceptions or
The biggest one is like if they see something on TikTok and it's like, I did this exercise and it grew my glutes, and maybe I changed that specific exercise in the next program. And they're like, but that was growing my glutes. I'm like, if you keep training hard, if you keep pushing close to failure, if you keep that intensity there, all these exercises will still build your glutes. Step ups alone won't just build your glutes.
Yeah, I mean, how do you even gauge that? Like, how can you, like, again, I'm not shitting on anyone. I'm just saying, like, what proof is there of that?
It's probably like they've been doing the same thing for 6 months or a year, whatever. Then they decided, I'm going to try this exercise and I'm just going to stick to it. And if they just did that with everything else they were doing, they probably would still see the same results. It's just they stuck to something for longer than 5 minutes.
That's a good point. I do like that.
Because, like, it's like even, like when people think like a hip extension, well, I always feel it in my back. And then they all of a sudden start feeling it in their glutes. It's like, that would have been a great exercise if you're doing it properly for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
But that alone still didn't just grow your glutes. It's like you fixed your technique and you're actually doing it properly.
Yeah.
You know? So I'd say that's the biggest one.
Yeah, I get that one a lot. I think that was a good point, which I haven't thought of, just like the ability to stick to an exercise for a long period of time. Because in my head, I'm like, how do you know that that's the exercise? Like, how do you know that it's not everything else that you've been doing as well?
How do you know it's not the fact you just haven't dieted in 12 months as well?
Yeah,
you know?
because, I mean, you're a great example of this as well. Is just like, I look at, like, you've obviously got great glutes, and I'm not just saying that because you're my girlfriend. But you've got great glutes. And I'm just like, well, I could not think of one sole exercise that has contributed to that.
No. I think that there's movements that should be put in a program for muscles. Like if you want to grow your glutes, do some form of a squat, whether that be a split squat, a lunge, a leg press, pendulum squat, whatever. Do some sort of a hinge, whether that be an RDL with a bar, dumbbell, do a hip extension or a glute bridge.
Yeah.
Like those movements should always be in your program, but it's not the barbell hip thrust alone growing your glutes. It's not the barbell RDL alone growing your glutes.
Yeah, I mean, like, I look at myself where I had a massive chest as a weakness.
Yeah.
I didn't change anything in terms of exercises. I just got better at the exercises I was doing.
Yeah.
I learned how to train it properly, and I did it for a very long period of time, and I just upped the volume on it.
Yeah. Well, the same thing with the RDLs. I didn't get to 100 kilos doing RDLs for one program. I RDL'd every week last year.
Yeah. You're doing like 3 variations.
There was maybe one program. I don't think I did have RDLs, but I think I did dumbbell RDLs instead. But I spent at least 48 out of 52 weeks last year RDLing. That's how I got to where I was as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, and like I can say I got stronger in RDL because I did RDLs. Like, yeah, that contributed to my strength. But again, all the other things are also going to contribute to the muscle build.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest weakness at the moment that we're bringing up is arms. So it's like, what are we doing? We're just doing lots of dumbbell curl variations. Table, barbell, dumbbell. But there's not like a secret exercise that's going to be the difference between me growing that and not. And it's funny because it kind of all ties together, right? It's like, what have we done to make that happen? We did the exercise consistently. We upped the frequency and the volume on it. And we did it for a long period of time at a high level. It's like you look at the programs that we make and how long these programs go for, they tick all those boxes. But is it necessarily that one exercise? Maybe, maybe not. But we could probably say it's multiple of, like a conjunction of all of them.
Yeah, 100%.
Fucking look at us go, man.
What do you mean? Like, we're good at our jobs. What can I say? What can I say?
Can RDL 100 kilos, can pose, can coach.
Fucking put that on a t-shirt and let me wear it every single day.
What, I guess when you, because I know for me, when I first started training, I used to think the program was like the be all and end all. And I remember when I was like training with one of the guys from the UK, like I was so excited because I was going to get all these like magic exercises. I remember when you had a coach overseas as well. Was that the same logic that you went into it with as well?
I don't think I really thought that deep into it, but like my program changed a lot. Like every 4 weeks, I had like quite big shifts in my program. And like at the time I was just like, oh, new program, like how exciting. Like this is so fun. But at the same time, like when I zoomed out, I'm like, it kept me entertained.
But was it necessarily the best thing for your program?
No.
Yeah.
Because this is a thing, because I used to program 4-week blocks for my clients, and I used to obviously do that too.
I did that too.
It's like when you think about it, say you've got a new complete exercise in there or you start a new training program, you're spending the first week finding your feet. Like I never suggest sending it week 1. Point blank, I don't care who you are, what you do. So that's week 1 gone. Then week 2, maybe you need to fix some of your techniques for some of your lifts. So you might progress a few things, but maybe say 50% of your program, you're still tweaking. The 3rd week, you might be at that level where everything's kind of smooth and you can progress again. Week 4, you progress again, it's over. It's like, that's just where it's starting to like actually take you forward.
Yeah, I feel like unless you're a power lifter, you don't need to do anything less than 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Like even 6 weeks, I'm like, that's short as fuck.
Yeah. Because if you're in the gym because you want to make progress, it's like you are going to stop yourself short of that every single time you change your program. That's less than, I'm going to put 8 weeks.
Yeah. When I was with that coach overseas, I was literally with him because I knew the exercises I were going to get were going to be super fancy. I was doing like the daisy chains, the cuffs. Yeah, I was fucking...
I started getting like the iliac go down. I was like, I don't even think at the time I knew what an iliac was.
Yeah, exactly. And I was doing those things and look, I got in good shape, but like it was no difference to like, the funny thing is I got better results with Jason. And I think that's because I knew, like he just laid it out to me saying, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And this is how it's going to work.
Yeah.
And I think that for me was like the mental shift that I needed for me to get a lot more progress. And as well as he wasn't scared to put up the amount of volume that I was doing as well. Whereas like when I was training with this other guy, trains a lot of enhanced people. So like they don't need as much because they're going to grow.
Yeah.
So when I started with Jason, I was not enhanced.
Yeah.
So he was like, you need more volume to grow. You need to get stronger. You need to do all these things. So I did that. And then I started seeing a lot more progress.
Yeah.
And I think that's the magic of the programming as well. Like the magic in the program is knowing when to put more sets on, knowing when to increase the frequency, knowing when to do which exercise, not giving you a fancy new exercise because you're bored.
Yeah.
You know? And I say that to my clients. I'm like, yep, I've made some small changes. Here you go.
Yeah. I agree.
And usually they're okay with that, as long as you sort of like lay that expectation, I feel.
Yeah, I think it's just like when you understand the why behind whatever it is you're doing, like you're going to understand why you're doing it. So there's more of that buy-in to actually do it.
Yeah.
Rather than just slapping something on and being like, here you go. It's like, okay, well, why the fuck am I doing these lunges right now? Like this doesn't make sense for me. Unless someone explains it and you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's the purpose behind it. That's the intention behind it.
Yeah, I had a question the other day. It's like, I got the same movement twice. And I'm like, yeah, and?
Yeah. Leg curls?
Yeah, well, this is the thing, right? Like, let's take hamstrings is a great example because there's only 2 ways you can, or 3 ways you can train a hamstring. Through an RDL, through a seated leg curl, and through a lying leg curl.
Yeah.
And like, that's it. Unless, again, the kneeling one, you could throw it in for some variation, but it's like
not even many gyms have that.
Exactly. But it's like, that's the only 3 ways to train the hamstring. And even then, the RDL, you can probably argue that you're getting a little bit more glute than you are hamstring.
Yeah, that'll just come down to how you're actually
Performing
executing it.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, well, why am I always just doing lying and seated leg curls? So it's like, how else do you want to train your hamstrings?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's literally, and you can honestly say that for a lot of muscle groups as well, but the hamstrings is probably the easiest one to describe that for.
Yeah, literally me putting lying leg curl across 3 leg days for my clients.
Yeah.
I'm like, you need hamstrings. We're just going to smash them with the machines. You can't do anything.
Yeah, for my guys, it's shoulders. It's like, you want bigger shoulders, it's like, cool, get ready to shoulder press 3 times a week and do 4 different lateral raise variations.
Yeah.
Because how else are you going to grow them? Especially like the lateral head or like the side part of your delt takes up the most amount of room. So how else are you going to grow that? You're going to do lateral raises. You're going to do dumbbell, you're going to do machine, and you're going to do cables. And that's it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if we can just put less complication on how we actually go about putting together a program and just make it simple for people to understand, you're probably going to get a lot more progress a lot sooner.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, what do you have on for this weekend, Kayla? Let's make this a little bit more lighthearted.
I'm doing nothing this weekend. I'm doing absolutely nothing. We have had the busiest weekends the last few weeks. So.
You have, yeah.
Yeah, like... Which has been great. Like, it's been good fun. But I'm also...
We're getting shusha this weekend. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, we can do that on Saturday. But in terms of just, like, not having to run around, like, strictly got training on Saturday, got posing at 2 p.m, and that's all. and then we'll get shish in the night. And that's literally it.
Sounds like a good fucking weekend.
And then Sunday, do nothing, and then stay at ones on the night time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
But otherwise, like, literally, I just want to chill. It's not even like I don't mind doing things, just I'm like, I don't want to be having to be responsible of getting somewhere at a certain time. I just want to go with the flow, not be in a rush.
Yeah, it's more so like, why don't we do this? And then you go and do something,
Yeah.
not being like, I have to be here by 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like even on Sunday, like I don't think we've had a proper sleep in on a Sunday in a while, or I haven't.
Yeah. I mean,
So it's like,
I have, but it's better with you.
yeah. But like to know I don't need to set an alarm at 6 on Sunday this weekend. I could set it at 7 if I wanted to. And because all I have to do is take my check-in photos and
Do the washing.
do do my steps. But there's no like, you need to get this all done by 10 a.m. because you have to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, especially with like sometimes with like the check-in stuff, I'm like, it needs to be done in the morning because I need to take photos.
Well, yeah, it's like you're the leanest in the morning. You go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You weigh yourself.
Yeah.
It's like it needs to be done then. So yeah.
And doing it on a Monday is just not feasible for our days. So I'm like,
No.
Sundays has to be done and gets done. But I'm like, I don't actually have to be anywhere else, which is nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Very slow. Well, for me, the most exciting thing that's happened this week for me is my new laptop.
Oh yeah, you got your new laptop.
Yeah. So
Set up.
got the MacBook Pro M4 Pro chip because we needed to handle the heavy duty editing. And I'm very excited. I like the setup that I got now. So I got 3 screens now, iPad, monitor, and computer. We're fucking locked and loaded.
How good.
Very happy. Next is the mic, but that can wait. Kayla's my Amazon approval order.
Yeah, I have to because otherwise you just buy so much stuff.
Yeah, we're getting better. We've improved.
No, you have improved. I
Come a long
can
way.
agree. You have improved.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.